welcome to another episode here at Deep Mountain Security. Today I want to go over how to find out information on an IP address. So there's many ways you might come across an IP address. Either maybe you were running scans on your stuff and you found an IP address, or you were using Wireshark or Nmap or some other utility to try and view your traffic, or maybe you were using Security Onion. That's a video for another day. Let me know if you want that in the comments below. But maybe you were using Security Onion and you found a couple of IP addresses that came up in through Snore or Elso or Kibana or whatever tool you were using to find IP addresses. Anyway, let's say you found an IP address talking to your stuff, and you want to, you think it might be malicious, but you don't know anything about it. So we're going to wonder, what in the world can we do to find this IP address? So I just want to go over a couple of utilities that I generally use. This is really fast and easy when I'm trying to find out information about an IP address. So the first one I'll look up or use is called Nslookup. And this comes installed by default on most boxes, both Windows and Linux. If not, it's a quick utility you can generally install on a Linux box if it doesn't already have it. So I think some versions of CentOS might not. But anyways, so we can Nslookup, and then for whatever, I'm going to use 216.58.193.78. So you can put your IP address into this utility, and when you hit the enter button, it'll tell you what it points to. So we've got an SEA15S07 whatever.net. Okay, so, that's kind of interesting. So another, thing we might do is, we can also, if we type in Nslookup and just hit enter, then I can put my stuff into here or whatever and type stuff out. And that works too. So if I did the same command in here, 216.58.193.78, then you're going to notice that it'll do the exact same thing. And we can also do this in reverse, because Nslookup will do both regular and reverse DNS lookups. So the way this works is that there's a domain name server out there, and so you're going to talk to your DNS server, and then if your DNS server can't find it, generally it will forward the query onto another DNS server and so forth up until it actually finds the server on which either resides the IP address or the domain name itself. So if we can, also type in stuff like SEA15S07-N-F78.1E100.net and hit enter. And so when it looks that up, it's going to give us this IP address right here. So, it goes both ways. So sometimes you might have more than one domain name associated with an IP address, or potentially more than one IP address associated with a domain name. And so by looking it up both ways, you might be able to get more data out of it. Another thing you can do is try pinging it. Is it alive? Is it something you can access? So ping 216.5. Oh, nope, we got to quit out of there. Or you can type quit, and that works too. Anyways, so ping, and then 216.58.193.78, and you can see we can ping it just fine, and we can do that same thing with the domain name actually. So either way, we can go ping SEA15S07-IN-F14.1E100.net. And you can see we can ping that too, and that'll also give us the IP address right there generally, or the IP address of whatever this is going to that we're currently pinging. And there's a couple of other things you can do here. If you're trying to test for connectivity to something, then you can go -T, which will never actually stop pinging. You notice Windows by default does 4 packets, but -T just tells it not to stop, and so Control-C, you can actually stop it manually. And that's useful when you're trying to test connectivity between devices, or connectivity on a host in general. I'll use utilities like Nslookup and ping to try and tell me more about my network connection and what I'm connected to. Another thing I can do, and this is going to be different for every machine, is a trace route. So in some Windows applications, it's usually trace RT for route, or in Linux boxes it might be trace route. Every operating system is going to be different, so see what yours has, and if it doesn't have a similar utility, you can generally install it. But anyways, I'm going to run that on our IP address right here and just see what kind of a route it takes to get there. And so what this is doing is it's going through, and as we try to get to that, this is connecting, this is showing every single connection I have to get out into that box. And so you're seeing we've got a couple of different boxes and IP addresses that we have to go to before we can finally reach there. And so some of these might be routers, some of these might be switches, some of these might be gateways. They could be a couple of different things, but generally I'll put in a public website like Google or something similar when I'm trying to test my internet connectivity or whatever in general, and run something like a trace route, a ping, or an Nslookup, depending on what part of my network functionality I'm trying to test. You can also use it to test connectivity between internal devices. So if you have maybe two devices on the same subnet and you want to know, can I talk to my other device? Is my network configured properly? Then you can type ping and then the host name of your other device or the IP address if you don't have DNS for that device working yet. And that's really useful too. You can also use it across subnets. So if I'm in one subnet and I've got a computer in another subnet and I want to test to see if I have firewalls or firewall rules in place that allow me to talk to it or not, then I can try pinging it or otherwise trying to get to it. If I can ping it, then what I can do is I can use tracer T or traceroute to discover what my path is to get there. What of my inside my network are we using to get there? And this is really useful from a professional standpoint when you have a large corporate or enterprise environment or network and you want to know, why can I access this device when it's supposed to be isolated? How am I getting through to that device? Maybe you've got all your firewall rules in place. Maybe you're blocking ports and all kinds of stuff through routers or whatever, and you've set all your protocols so you should not be able to connect to it. Yet when you try to ping the device, it comes up. You can use a trace route to discover how you are getting to it. Then you can go back through the IP addresses on your network, discover what hosts they are, go take a look at the config or the configuration files for the firewall or router or whatever device it might be, and then you can go modify it and make the changes to block that stuff. And that's really useful when you're in a secure environment, like maybe doing PCI or classified or secret level information or above, something you need a security clearance for. So that's really useful to make sure that you can't access stuff that you shouldn't have access to, or to make sure that you can get to stuff that you should be able to get to. So it goes both ways. It's useful for testing out connectivity on your network. Another couple of things you can do with an IP address is you can actually do a whois lookup. And what a whois lookup, and there's a couple of different places you can do it. There's so there's a lot of things that you can do. That's a domain lookup. You can sometimes do it by IP address. Some places will let you do it. Security Onion, for example, you can do a whois right inside Squirt if you're using or not Squirt, Squeal. If you're inside Squeal and you're going through logs and events, and you want to know the whois of a device or an IP address or domain, then you can do a whois on it. So, if I do google.com and do a search here, whatever, it's going to tell me who it is or whatever, who its name servers are, and some other different information about it, And then, so, this utility right here is nice because it'll display everything nice and easy for me to see. However, this is the raw whois data right here. So this is the actual whois file. So this is what you would see if you were to look up the google.com. If you were to see that address in your Security Onion box, then this would be a fantastic way of getting, information about it. So let's say someone at whois, or not whois, at Google is abusing your IP addresses and sending all kind of malicious traffic over. Then you can generally, somewhere on here, they'll have something like a registrar abuse contact email, abusecomplaints@markmonitor.com, in which case you can send an email to that email server, and somebody most likely on the other end is looking at it, and they will take a look at it and get back in touch with you and say, hey, we're also not sure where this traffic's coming from, and then maybe they were hacked or something, and that's why their server's generating that traffic. But anyway, there's a lot of situations that can be useful. You can sometimes do it by an IP address. Sometimes an IP address doesn't always work that great, but if I put in 216.581.93.78 here, you're going to see that this is registered actually with google.com, and so you're going to see Google's organizational stuff in the raw whois data right here. So it looks like Google actually has this entire 216-58192/19 CIDR range here. CIDR being the notation you use to specify the subnet without needing a subnet mask. If you guys want to know more about that, let me know in the comments, and I'll make a video on it. But anyways, so yeah, Whois is a fantastic way of finding out who owns an IP address or a domain name, and then being able to dig more into that and discover, why is your network talking with them? What kind of data is being sent? Do you need that data? Is it something you should maybe block in your firewalls altogether? Is it, something normal or not? There's a lot of different ways to try and go through and distinguish this kind of data. You can also do things. There's a couple of other websites out there that will allow you to see if maybe a domain name has been malicious or compromised. There's lists out there for you to discover known bad IP addresses that you can put your IP address into and see if it's known to be a bad or malicious host. But anyways, these are some of the utilities that I use on a constant basis, nearly daily pretty much, for both testing my network connection and discovering what my network traffic is. Is my network traffic good or bad? Or, how is my network traffic? But anyways, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe here at Deep Mountain Security. Have a great day.